Alright friends, it is time for the Gunvolt 3 overview. I just beat the game. Actually, I beat it the night it came out. uh, it's pretty much more of the same. However, this time you have a melee character, which is something that was highly requested. Not just from me, of course, because I'm a Mega Man Zero series boomer. I played through most, if not all, of those games, and I definitely think those are not only the best Indie Creates games ever made, but those are like, especially Zero 3, in my opinion, is the best Mega Man game in the entire franchise. Uh, Gunvolt has always had the problem of, the character feels great to control. You'd be hard pressed to find like any other modern 2D platformer where the character feels as good to control as these games. But the problem is Gunvolt, the protagonist in the corner there in the background. His fighting style was very stop and go. You had to tag the enemies and then use the flash field, which made you come to a complete stop. So with this game, rather the previous games with Copen, they tried to kind of incorporate other playstyles because they realized that if you want to go fast in this game, which of course you want to, or in this series, of course you want to go fast because the character feels great to control. Most indie platformers, I feel, don't even get close to the movement that you can get in this game, or in this series. But the only way to do that was to pretty much just jump over everything, which is fine for a speedrun, but for casual players, a little bit off-putting that you couldn't really interact with the enemies without losing your momentum completely. So in this game, there's a story reason for it, but basically you do not play as Gunvolt permanently. If you played Mega Man X3, no, I'm kind of dating myself there, but if you played that old game, you remember Zero. Basically, there were 4 like blank rooms in every level. That was basically there to ensure that you could not play as him for more than 1/4 of a level. Now, this game is a lot more lax about it, but it definitely still has the same kind of feel to it. However, there's actually quite a bit of strategy to it. I think the new character feels really good to control. I hope that, well, judging from the story, it seems like they might make more games with her. I don't want to get to the story. I think the story is actually pretty bad. The ending is very unsatisfying, but you can look that up on your own. I don't want to get any angry hate mails because I spoiled this game that's very clearly focused on story instead of gameplay. A lot of the previous characters and even plot threads are like not mentioned in this at all. So if you're one of the people that plays this for the story, which is more than understandable, the art, the voice acting, the presentation is great, you're going to be disappointed. But if you want to play this for the gameplay, I think this game is definitely one of the best games they put out. Which is ironic because a lot of people consider the previous game they put out, Luminous Chronicles X2, to be like the worst game that they've released. So it's very clear with that game, they were trying to change things, and you know how that goes with games like this. It can definitely backfire. Very clear they had the A team working on this, and the B team was working on X2. So anyway, the main new feature in this game, besides the gameplay, of course, is image pulses. Image pulses basically come from fake loot boxes. Don't worry, you're not going to get divorced by your wife or, not be able to pay your car payment getting these loot boxes. It's completely free. I've heard a lot of people compare it to Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which is not a game I played, but I did watch some friends of mine play it. They're fake loot boxes. There's no microtransactions in this game at all. There is a DLC menu on the main menu, so I'm sure that there will be at some point, but for now, you're not paying for any loot boxes. Basically, if you go into push X, this will show you the potential image pulses that you can get. Now, a lot of them actually appear on other levels as well. I don't exactly know what the pool is, but as you can see here, where it says first pulse, the present means that is your first clear bonus. So if you're used to playing like hunting games or something, they usually give you something for your first clear. So you want to go through here the whole game again. This is actually the hard difficulty, and then there's the very hard difficulty. So you start with normal. You will have to get the true ending to get the demanding task and merciless task is essentially hard and very hard, which is pretty easy to do. You can look it up. I'm not going to spoil it for you. So you have your active image pulses, which are basically like, you know, like active abilities. There's buffs in here. There's a bunch of heals. Most of them are heals, at least the ones that I have so far. But there's a couple that are active abilities, like he shoots a bunch of lasers. You might remember him from Gunvolt 2. Then you have this guy who's brand new. So some of them can be enhanced. So if you put some credits into this, you'll max it out. Most of them can't, so you gotta... I don't know, the credits feature feels kind of weird. The main way that you get credits is by getting a dupe from the fake loot boxes. So you can't get more than one of these. If you do get one, it will give you like 10,000 credits. So if you want to max out everything for your build, you might have to do a little bit of grinding. Now there's also passive ones. The passive ones are arguably more interesting. I think most people that play this, I probably speak for most of us, and I say you're probably gonna spam a bunch of heals and then like maybe like one active attack ability. But there's a number of things here you can do. You can arrange them by rarity. So right now I've got Arc Chain, which is a mechanic I'll get into in a couple minutes. Increase the damage according to the number of talismans. Now she features a similar tagging mechanic to Gunvolt and Copen. So the more talismans you have on an enemy or a boss, this will do more damage. I have the Fetters gauge generation, which basically means I can use Gunvolt for longer, using the burst down a boss. I have this Mist Talismans recover 80% faster. This increases damage dealt while Kudos song is playing. Now Kudos actually does not deplete when you get hit. Also checkpoints are forced. So if you didn't really care for the scoring in these games, I think this is probably an easier one to get into. However, it still seems like you have to play basically perfectly to get an S+ rank. So it's not like they made it any harder. It's not like they made it any easier, rather. It's just that they made it a little bit more accessible and less frustrating. So I've got a bunch of talismans on, and then I have experience gain. So you can take these on and off as you see fit. As you level up, you'll get more slots, up to a maximum of 8. I do think the interface for this is pretty bad. You can't just click on something and disable it. You have to remove all of them. The UI for this is not that great. I actually spent the vast majority of the game not having things equipped properly because I couldn't tell what was equipped and what wasn't. But hopefully they'll fix that later on. Anyway, let's go back to normal and get to the game. As you can see, there's 8, what are they called in this game? Phantom Yakumo or something? They're basically Mavericks. Same difference. Mavericks, Robot Masters. And then you have like Wily levels and a couple side levels too. Okay, so you control this character. She has some pretty cool melee moves. She's got an S string. This actually does the most damage. So they try to balance it out. The problem with the last game, X2, is they tried to make the character melee, but he just felt like crap to control. The melee did not feel good. The melee feels very good in this game. Main difference between this and X2 is that you can do a dash slash. If you're used to playing the Mega Man Zero games, you know that this was a very common way to dispose of enemies without a canned animation, and also keeping your momentum as well. As you can see, it's a little bit hard with the up attack button, but you can keep your momentum like this. She also has talismans. Talismans are how you mark the enemies to both do more damage. When you mark an enemy with the talisman, their health bar will go down, but it won't be actual damage. And then when you attack them with melee, that damage will actually accumulate. So on a regular enemy, you can probably toss a couple of these and kill them, depending on their strength. But on a boss, you want to stack a bunch of these and then, you know, go into a combo if you have an opening. See, like right now, he is sealed. So His attacks will still hurt, of course, but there's no collision damage. Now, if I mark an enemy and push the A button, you do arc chain. Now, every time you do this, you get an extra jump. So you can use that both to chain more arc chains together and also for mobility. The level design in this game is great. They have like a lot of standard stuff you despise seeing in these kinds of games, like auto-scrollers and stuff. But if you use this mechanic, you can actually bypass that completely, which feels really satisfying. It's hard to pull off, but when you do it, it feels really good. So these items here, they're not just for score anymore, they're actually the loot boxes. So you actually want to collect all of these because they will give you more summon chances for the fake loot boxes. It's not the best gameplay because I'm kind of trying to explain things as well. Just want to see some of the moveset. Got that. She's also got a helm breaker. And if you want to do this Isen dash, do it off the helm breaker like that. So you can go do something like this. Feels really good to pull off. Of course, you'll need a pretty big opening to do a big combo like that, but it's possible. So when you get hit in this game, you do not lose all your Kudos completely. You get something called Kudos Lock, which means that your Kudos bar, your Kudos points, will not accumulate any farther until you do a certain amount of damage. You get your Kudos back. So right now I have minus 37. But I got it all back because I did a double arc chain. So from what I've seen on YouTube, you still have to play the game like basically perfectly to get an S rank, but it's less frustrating to get the buffs and stuff because the buffs are actually pretty important later on. The moveset does expand a little bit. It was kind of one of my main disappointments with this game was that the moveset doesn't really grow past a while. Past a certain point, you kind of just like stop getting new moves and they just power up the existing ones. But Inti Creates games usually have like, I don't know, like 3 to 5 months of DLC, so they'll probably add like some new image pulses or maybe some new moves or something. That was something that was very controversial in the last game, X2, because they took away Copen's moveset until you got the Kudos, which meant that you couldn't heal, and you had to skip checkpoints. But then they added an $8 DLC boss fight, which you can finish in a few minutes. That gives you the boss set, the whole old moveset back. In this game, they give you a much better base moveset, and there's nothing really limiting you from using it. So I think it's better. Ideally, they'll just add like more image pulses, or maybe like a new mode or something. In any case, we're going to introduce Gunvolt here. So he actually got changed quite a bit. When you play as him, you basically have unlimited mobility because he is basically, in the story, he's literally so powerful that they have to seal him. Like, they're basically giving you a justification for why he's so busted. So one of the things you have is if you tag an enemy more than three times or more, he'll actually do this teleport, which really helps with his momentum. It's crazy how much better he feels. So not much of a necessity to really stand around and use the flash field. It's also got this lightning is gonna drop, which is pretty badass. I should mention there's also lots of in-game dialogue, which is pretty nice to hear, but I've been playing this game for several hours. I'm tired of hearing it. One of my biggest complaints with this game actually was when I first started playing it. There's an option I didn't know you could turn off, where basically the boss's head was like completely obstructing the screen and I couldn't even see it. Luckily, they're not too tone deaf and they don't let the story get in the way of gameplay, so you can turn it off, you can make it transparent or just turn it off completely. I definitely recommend doing that. Gunvolt isn't really known for its large sprites, it's known for its good sprites, but you don't really have a lot of screen size bosses. You're mostly fighting other humanoids about your size, so you don't really want to be... You don't want to be, you know, screwed over in gameplay because of it. So normally when you play Gunvolt, the bar will go down, including when you get hit or just when you do certain actions. So a good strategy is to use Kieran for the main level as much as you can, unless you really need a get-out-of-jail-free card. But then, as you can see, I have about 200% of his bar right now, so you can basically use him and just burst down a boss. Which I think is pretty cool. You don't really want to use him for just regular stuff. You want to make sure you play well so that you get to a boss with a lot of meter for him. See, I did a bunch of talismans on him and then went to the arc chain. Alright, let's summon Gunvolt so you guys can see it.
Now I'm seeing red! Procession! I don't need no messiah!
Gotta love how they actually hired English voice actors, but yeah, the attack names are still like super English. So sometimes when you kill a boss, they'll actually revive. They have a lot less health, but you get a pretty big bonus for this, both in terms of your kudos, and you get an extra loot box as well, so it can be annoying when it happens, but it's actually kind of a blessing in disguise. You see he's getting demolished right now.
Oversurge! Azure Striker! Let's caliber!
Oops.
You got this! Mega Ultra Bomber!
So during an arc chain on a boss, you're actually pretty much invincible until after it hits. You also get another aerial launcher, and you get another jump as well, so sometimes you might only have an opportunity to do like one arc chain, and then you can try to jump away. Otherwise, you definitely have to play it safe. I definitely think it makes the boss fights a lot more dynamic and fun. You're not just standing there and tagging. You kind of, since she's a melee character, she can't do any damage with her ranged attacks at all. Basically, it's like, I guess you could say it's something similar to like Grey Health in fighting games and stuff, where you have like recoverable health. You know, if you do like a focus attack or something, and you know, it will come back by itself. But you know, if you get hit, then you lose it all. That's kind of how it works here. If you lose the talismans and they come back to you, all that gray health is gone. But if you do a combo, you hit them with a physical attack, then it will actually do true damage. So as you can see here, I got most of the loot boxes on the map, but then I also got an extra one for killing the boss when he resurrected. So here's your fake loot boxes. Let's get that dopamine. I sold my life savings to get these loot boxes. Just some disclosure here. Don't worry, the loot boxes are completely fake. There's no no microtransactions as of yet. They definitely will have DLC for this. The image pulses, the passive ones, are actually quite fun, so hopefully they'll put more like game-changing ones. Most of them are not just boring stat increases. They like change your playstyle and you can make different builds and stuff. I think my only complaint with this system is that on the hardest difficulty, you can't use any of the passive ones at all. So, kind of reminds me of character action games where they have like lots of cool items and stuff, but then they penalize you so much for using them that you basically they just accumulate in your inventory and never use them. I definitely think that's a problem, but you can still use them on the second difficulty, so the difficulty after normal, which I guess you could call hard. On very hard, the only ones you can use are the active ones, and you can only use them once per level, and you have to reset the entire level to use them again, which I think is dumb. It's kind of weird to have, like, all these loot boxes and builds, and the fake loot boxes and the builds and stuff, but then you can't use them on the hardest difficulty, so it feels like it's relatively pointless if you can't use them for the hardest challenge. But hopefully they'll add like some DLC or something where you can use it. It's obvious that they added this stuff as a response to the fact that people don't understand the value of a short replayable game. You know, I grew up in the arcades. I play a lot of short games, and I have like, I don't know, how many hours in Final Vendetta? At least like 10 hours, which may not seem like much, but I've beaten that game like probably like 24 times because it's a 20-minute game. It's fun, it's replayable, it has no filler, no padding or anything. But the common complaint with these games is that they have like AAA production values for the kind of game it is. Obviously, it doesn't take as much to make this as like an Assassin's Creed or something, but this is about as high quality and high production values as you get for this kind of smaller genre game. People always complain that you just beat it once and that the game was too easy, and then there's nothing to really do after that, whereas if you're like an arcade player, you had the fun of score attacks, you had you know, speed runs, time attacks, and stuff like that, no damage runs, challenge runs. But I definitely think it's good that they added something more material. You have all this stuff in here that you can use that can completely change your build and how you play the game. Like I said, it's pretty whack that you can't use it on the hardest difficulty. I think that's kind of clown shoes design, because it's not easy to get this stuff. You have to play through the game at least twice, and then there's a little bit of RNG involving whether you get one as well, and then you have the whole level system as well, so you have to grind and get dupes to level up some of these ones that actually can be enhanced. It just feels a little bit half-baked. You know, why have all this stuff if it's supposed to be there to both help like less skilled players or more casual players, and then like also give the game more longevity besides just stuff that people don't really think about anymore, like speed runs and score runs and stuff. It's weird to have all this stuff and have it basically be useless on the hardest challenge, but knowing them, they'll probably add some bosses or like some new content or something where you won't be barred from using it, and that will probably make things quite a bit better. Anyway, I think this game is great. This is the best game that they put out in a long time. X2 was like the downfall, felt like, but then they came out with this like 6 months later, so hopefully they'll add some cool stuff to this. I think it does need a little bit more content, maybe more things to use this stuff on. Maybe they can add like more moves or something. Kieran's moveset actually does not really expand that much past the first 4 Mavericks. Past that, you mostly just get expansions for it. You can use some of the moves in the air and stuff, which feels a little bit half-baked. The moveset is great as it is, but you know, there are no special weapons in this game. There's no like you know, robot master weapons in this or anything, so it's a little bit lame that you basically only get like maybe 2 or 3 new moves and then they just get enhanced. Definitely feels a little bit dry there, but that's something that they can probably fix in time. They probably will add new moves. I mean, Copen right here, let's see, Copen right here in the last game is very controversial. They're like, we're gonna take away your moveset unless you you score well, which makes the healing and the checkpoints a trap. And then you gotta pay $8 and fight a boss for like 3 minutes of content to be able to use the fun moveset. They haven't done anything like that here. I don't think this game is even really set up to do something like that, so we'll see what happens, I guess. I recommend the game for $30. if you like grinding and loot and you like playing a game really well, I think this game offers a lot. But story-wise, the game is definitely a disappointment. Hold on a minute. Story-wise, the game is definitely a disappointment. Nothing is really resolved. The ending basically seems like it sets up a lot more games, which is cool because I don't think that they should discard this character right away. I think they could do even more with her. It definitely proves that they can do a lot more with melee combat. She definitely feels like an enhanced version of Zero from the GBA games. The momentum you have, the flow, the options you have feel really good too. If they can expand upon that, it's great. It seems pretty clear that maybe Gunvolt is not going to be a main character anymore. We don't really know for sure. I don't want to spoil anything, but it seems like what they're trying to do is set up like a passing of the torch thing, so maybe she will be the new character, and then they'll expand upon her in the future. Overall, for $30, it's definitely still a little bit steep, but I think that they've added enough loot mechanics and stuff to kind of keep you playing. Obviously, there's going to be DLC as well. If you go back to the main menu, you can see that there's DLC, and then it takes you to the eShop, and it says there's no DLC yet. So, who knows what they'll add? They might add whole new bosses. They might add a new mode. They might add new image pulses to grind for, which I think would be pretty fun, because it basically would be new ways to play the game. The existing, really fun, awesome game, but, give you more ways to interact with it. Hopefully that's what they do. Anyway, hope that helps. Definitely took me not as long to do this overview as others. It only took like, I don't know, maybe like 4 or 5 hours to get this done. I'll definitely do some videos of this game when I get better at it. I'm still kind of like brute forcing the bosses. The hard mode is kind of forcing me to actually learn their movesets. So, once I get to that, we'll definitely see more of this on the channel. But for now, I'm going to sign off. I hope you guys give this game a chance. If the $30 asking price is too much for you, Inti crates normally after like maybe a little less than a year, they tend to steeply discount their stuff, and by then the DLC will all be out. You can probably get that for a discount too. Definitely has more value than X2 just because the game itself is much better. It feels better to play, and you have this fun build system which allows you to both challenge yourself and kind of set up different ways for you to approach situations. Thanks for watching.